Hi, I'm Tealish, and you're watching Coffee and Clicks. Today we're joined by Ken Small. We're going to be
Cheers.
interviewing Ken Small. Hi, Ken. Ken was the winner of the 2023 Kilted Classic, which just happened recently. Ken, when was it that the Kilted Classic
That was
happened?
1 week ago today.
1 week ago today. And Ken was the winner. So we're going to be interviewing him today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I just want to remind everybody to like and subscribe, give a comment on this video, and thank you for all your support. And check out my link tree, which is, you can see the link below for all the links to my media. Ken, I just want to, let's just talk a little bit about. Well, first, could you tell us about yourself, just in general? Your history playing HeroClix, and
Sure. Sure. So I'm a lifelong comics fan, and I like the story of how I got into Clix because lifelong comics fan and a fair amount of strategy gaming and board gaming in it. And one day at the comic shop, I saw up at the counter this new game called HeroClix. So of course I had to buy it. Looked like Magic the Gathering style collectability, and I thought this could be fun. So I bought it. I took it home. I read the rules, and I thought this is stupid, and I put it away. 6 months later, a bunch of friends of mine said, "Hey, we found this new game. It's called HeroClix. It's really fun." And from that point forward, I never stopped playing.
how long ago was that you started playing?
That was well. I mean, I believe when I started playing, like I said, it was probably about 6 months after the game's debut.
Oh wow,
Uh,
okay, yeah.
so I think the current set was clobbering time, and just as I was getting really into the swing, Explosion came out. So really early,
And you've been
really
playing the entire way, like without
never
any.
stopped. I probably haven't gone more than about 3 weeks without playing Clicks in that time, and honestly, that would be unusual. Even during the hiatus when the game ceased production for almost a year, I kept my local venue alive with prizes out of my collection and fun thematic games, and we kept going right up until the point they started back production with Hammer of Thor. Excuse me.
You're from the Chicago area? What?
Yeah. So I've lived here half my life, most of my adult life, and my venue is Chicagoland Games Dice Dojo, where I set up events and somebody else judges them. That's on the north side of Chicago, not too far from Lakeshore Drive or the lake, if you know the area, in the Edgewater neighborhood, which unfortunately is a little bit hard to get to from outside the city. Very easy to get to if you're in the city. From outside the city, it's a bit of a drive.
Cool. Yeah, and so about the Kilted Classic, which is the tournament that just happened like a week ago. What team did you play, and how did that team work? Like, if you want to
Cool.
explain the workings behind the team.
Yeah, so my team consisted of the Disney Plus Scarlet Witch at 75 points with Darkhold, the 60-point Iraq Knight with the Cloak of Levitation, the 50-point con exclusive Wonder Woman, Death Metal Wonder Woman, who does the reviving, 35-point Mad Jim Jaspers, 30-point Faust from Wonder Woman 80, 25-point Star Sapphire from Wonder Woman 80, and 20-point Legacy Green Lantern, the Kingdom Come Green Lantern. And the idea behind my team, so the way I started building this team was the rules change happened, and I had a different meta team altogether. I had Celebrity team with Deathstroke and Scarlet Witch and Sakari and Iron Man, and I was doing good things with that. But the new rules came, and I thought, well, probability control is going to be at a premium. How much probability control can I stack onto a team? There's one team that won Worlds ages ago that had like 5 probability control pieces and 1 heavy hitter. And I guess that kind of always stuck in my head is like back before theme probability control kind of ruled the roost. So I thought how much, so I started looking through units, looking at cheap probability control pieces or probability control pieces that could serve another function, like good attackers who also had probability control. And it wasn't too. I mean, basically, Arachnite and Scarlet Witch fell out of that, and I thought this looks like this could be. And then I also wanted to put Faust on the team because I wanted to mess with other people's probability control.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this looks like a mystical team, so I built a mystical team, very similar to what I had now, with the exception of no Star Sapphire, and I used the starter Raven from the Teen Titans Go Scooby Doo box set.
Okay.
And she's just 25 points for TK and survivability, and she honestly wasn't that good. So I, after playing the team a little bit, I swapped her out, and then I decided I don't really need theme. So I took her out. I decided what I really needed was more barrier. I needed more ways to shell up. And then Star Sapphire is not only one of the cheaper barrier pieces in the game, she has access to a ring, which can create even more barrier. So I did not design it as a turtle team, but I did want to be able to survive not going first. Again, with the new rules, a theme team is a +3, and a non-theme is more viable. So is also viable. So it's a little bit of like, well, even if I have a theme, I can't guarantee going first. And if I don't have a theme, I need to be able to defend myself. And the team works out because between Death Metal, Wonder Woman, Arachnite, and Scarlet Witch, who are the damage dealers of the team, and mostly the first two, they all have stop clicks. Or have a way to, and Wonder Woman can revive people further than that. So my team doesn't mind not going first. It can shell up. Modern meta play always has a way to deal with barrier, but barrier will at least slow down any attack coming my way. And my team can take a punch. So if someone noted on a different podcast talking about it that my team almost dares you to come and punch me, which it does if I'm not going first. And if you don't do that, I can project across the map pretty well. If I won dice roll, I would almost always choose to go second and choose the Oscorp warehouse. And this is I don't want to call it secret sauce, but the thing not everybody thinks about, which is Mad Jim swaps Scarlet Witch's Darkhold for the Angler.
Mm-hmm.
And the Angler is an object where if you were standing next to an object or a wall, you can move 6 squares within 6 squares in line of sight to another square next to an object or a wall. So by picking the Oscorp warehouse, if you've seen that map, it is full of walls and blocking terrain squares as columns, and it's just Scarlet Witch can just blink around that thing like crazy. So generally speaking, my team would, if my opponent wasn't aggressive, I could be aggressive with Arachnite. The cloak, TK, and the choice of hypersonic speed or charge flurry meant that I could go pretty far and project a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. And if my opponent did come my way, I'd take whatever hit happened, probably not die, or lose a low-level piece. And then Scarlet Witch would be able to erase their powers and kill them. And that happened quite a few times. Or people would set up, one of a couple things that happened. People would come in and attack me, and I'd be able to counterattack them for more than they did. Or they would try to set up mid-board, and I would be able to send Witch out to erase their powers and get some kind of alpha strike off and do a lot of damage to them.
And so when they came and attacked you, or I don't know if that happened too often in the tournament, but if they came at you in the beginning, were you able to position Scarlet Witch to drop the chaos marker in such a way that it would not affect your own pieces?
Usually, but not always.
Okay.
My very first match was against my good friend Pat Fraser, who had been practicing. We'd played each other. He was playing a dropship animal team. Then he could do more damage than most people right off the bat, mm-hmm. because he had 3 maggots. So he'd come in and poison. And I don't remember how it went this time or in practice, but there would definitely be times when I would activate her power and remove my own character's powers to do it. More often than not, though, I'd be able to use the Angler to move her, or the TK that Star Sapphire has to move her to an optimal position.
Okay.
So usually didn't hurt my own pieces too much. That was something I got better at practice, which was not accidentally leaving my pieces in the hex zone. And I certainly did that a lot during practice.
Yeah. And did you find that the barrier helped you out in the event?
Yes, quite a bit. Yes, quite a bit. Without the barrier, I'd be susceptible to things like energy explosions, which are rougher on my team than pulse waves. Um, I'd have been People would have been able to get multiple attacks off. And while I have stop clicks on some figures, they don't have two stop clicks. And it was important when I could to not have to use my Wonder Woman resuscitate power too early. Death Metal's Wonder Woman's ability to bring people back. I didn't want to use that up too early. One particularly tough match, I fought against another Scarlet Witch who came in and popped her hex on my team, but also members of his own team. And then I had Scarlet Witch because it's a trait, not a power. She can do it back, and we had overlapping witch hexes with a bunch of figures inside. That was a crazy game.
So what happens when there's two overlapping witch hexes?
Well, neither witch can use any powers either.
Oh, okay.
So you're down to team abilities and whatever traits aren't just granting powers.
Yeah.
So Sakari Iron Man does okay because he still gets his stat boosts and he still gets his defensive ability to burn objects, but he can't pick any powers. My team also has a lot of Mystic TA theme characters. Not theme, but Mystic TA characters. So I was dealing a lot of passive damage back when people would hit me.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's designed to do that, just happens to be, but it's, every little bit helps.
Well, I think Sakari and Iron Man can pick the powers, you just can't use them, right? Like let's say you were able to.
That is correct.
Yeah, if he picked them and then you were able to TK him out of the text,
yes.
the hex, then he could use
that.
That
is absolutely correct.
And how about? I'm actually interested. How about, because I noticed you had Green Lantern Legacy on your team. Did he come into play at all? Like his defensive powers that he has to like give everybody a boost, or how does that?
Yes.
Does that help?
He does it once. He does it once, one attack per turn. So it wasn't a huge help, but often people didn't think about it. So people would often go for my weaker characters like Star Sapphire or Green Lantern himself. And, Star Sapphire is an 18 defense. Green Lantern is a 17. That 1 to 3 boost is a big help when they're being attacked. And I managed to survive at least a couple attacks during the day with those two figures by boosting their own. That is something else that practice helped with. For the longest time, I just kept forgetting to use that power.
Yeah.
So,
did you find that you switched or swapped any other equipments besides the Angler with Mad Gem Jaspers?
I did not accept that. Also key there is that every game I would give Death Metal Wonder Woman the golden armor.
Okay.
So that gives her, so she has no reducer. That gives her invulnerability, which is important because it protects her from knockback and poison. And it also means that the first hit on her each turn, or the first hit on her each game if she's on top dial, she takes a maximum of 1 damage. So people didn't go after her too much, but in the final game, it was clutch because my opponent had not remembered that I had put the armor on her, and his Sakari and Iron Man chose poisoned quite a bit of my team, but did not kill her.
Yeah, and that's something I was going to ask you is how did your matches go just in general? Who did you play against? What was your biggest challenge?
Well, my biggest challenge undoubtedly was my final game, although I did lose one match pre-Swiss, during the Swiss rounds. So, like I said, I fought my friend Pat the first game, and that is one of those games that could go either way, but it went my way and pretty definitively early on. It's just, a matter of dice and who does what when. My second game, I played against Isaac, who I think is from the Minnesota group, and he had a lot of Forced Blast Pulse Wave knockback. So my choice of map was a little bit hard on me, but because I could, again, teleport Scarlet Witch out to erase powers, I managed to take down his lead off was Blue Marvel, and Blue Marvel did some damage to me. I think I had to resuscitate Faust, which I did in some games. I decided it was worth not losing the points, but then I could pop out and kill him and ignore his stop click. My third game was against Lucas Van Hollen, great player, and he had a team based around Sakari and Iron Man, Mad Jim, and World's Finest. and I actually lost that game. That's the game I lost. I learned a lot about not underestimating World's Finest, not overestimating Arachnite's ability to survive, because he's quite outwittable. And if you outwit his super senses, he's a lot easier to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost that game. I played against the detective theme with Martian Manhunter with his team up card, Venom Wolverine, and Prime KC Batman at 20 points. And that game was a back and forth knockdown drag out, but it was certainly helped by the fact that I took out his Martian Manhunter right away. His inability to be hit is a power, and I got him in the hex and flurried him right off.
Oh,
So
nice.
that helped a lot. And then my last match of the pre-cut was against a very clever team of two Arachnites, Legacy Apocalypse, Chip, and Mad Jim Jaspers. And Chip's getting the Dark Hold swapped onto him. Mad Jim is giving Apocalypse the Sinestro ring for the Perplex, and his minions are doing a lot of work, and Arachnites are doing a lot of work. But one thing Apocalypse does not like is having his mastermind taken away.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped. And then once we got past the cut, I played him, the same player again, Max K from Grand Rapids area. Great guy. I had never met him before. Very friendly. And he tried a different strategy, but he did not see TK plus Angler coming, which really gives me a tremendous swing with the Witch and her Chaos marker. And that allowed me to do damage to him right off. That game is a little more back and forth. And I fought Lucas again. Lucas chose a wide open map and chose to go second. It's the only time someone chose not to go first against me all day, and that I remember. And he had a bad swing with his World's Finest on my Witch, letting me get in the hex. I had an alpha that hurt his Sakari and Iron Man pretty bad. It made it risky for him to use it, and those two things really helped. But that was Luke's obviously a top level player. It was a very strategic game, but I had everything I needed to beat him in that game that I didn't have the first time, including not underestimating his figures. Very important.
Yeah, that World Finest is really good. World Finest is quite a good figure.
I played against him before, but only in semi kind of casual play. Never somebody in a real cutthroat setting. And there's just things about him I did not take into consideration. My penultimate match, I think it was, if I'm getting my order right, was against Jalen Major, who had the other Scarlet Witch, where we had the overlapping hexes. Mm-hmm. That game could have gone either way. If it had gone on 5 more minutes, I very well might have lost it. We were down to his Sakari and Iron Man pretty hurt, and his Witch on her last click. My Witch, I don't think she was on her last click. My Wonder Woman and my Mad Jim. And it's just point differential. It would have been very hard for me to kill him. And had he taken out Mad, and I was out of revives, and his Sakari and Iron Man was the most versatile piece on the map. So I was worried about that one. And then the last match was against Rob, and I don't know if you've seen Rob's team. I think this team.
Rob
Olger?
Olger. I haven't seen his team, no.
I don't know if it's Olger or Olger. I think it's Olger. So I'm going to lay this out because I think my team is, the way I describe my team is, I didn't copy it from anyone, but it's not exactly original. His team is very good. I would give him a lot of credit for this team. And if it had won, I think everybody would have been, I think he's getting some due for it anyway. He's playing 2 Saturnines, not that unusual. Merlin, and then he plays Professor X swap to swap in Moira McTaggart and Mr. Sinister uncommon, and then he has another Mr. Sinister uncommon. Moira loads the Sinisters up with Rally Dice 1 that can replace die rolls, and Saturnine, of course, brings him down. And then he has Sakari and Iron Man. His only primary attacker is Sakari and Iron Man, and he just between Sakari and Iron Man's inability to get killed in the first place and that team's ability to mess with die rolls, it's very hard to deal with. We ended up at each other's throats, duking it out, and we still went 0-0. A lot of missing. He only had the one character doing most of his attacking. I was attacking him over and over again. I'd gotten the Sakari and Iron Man down to 1 object and only a couple clicks of life. Couldn't close the deal. And those Saturnines are mean. So we ended up the final roll, for those who don't know, or the final game, for those of you who don't know, was decided on a roll off.
Really?
And different dice. You'd be interviewing Rob right now, and I know Rob's game immediately prior to mine also went to a roll off, so he was probably feeling pretty antsy at that point with dice. Um, I felt good about how I did against that team because I think that team, I think my team is weak to that team, so I think I played it the way I needed to. But I will not. I mean, I can't deny I won it on luck because we diced off for the win. I was happy. I was happy to have held it to that.
And his team is interesting. I mean, like wouldn't your strategy just be to like swarm Sicarian Iron Man and just like gang up on him, or?
I didn't even have a chance to think about what my strategy was because I barriered in, and on his next turn, he broke a wall and put Sicarian Iron Man running shot pulse wave into my room
Oh wow. Okay.
and hit almost everybody on my team for at least one.
Oh.
So I mean, he was right. He brought him to me, and I did in fact flail on him. I was doing a lot of attacking when the card the Tower was in play, which is all misses or critical misses.
Mm-hmm.
So I was also literally just dealing myself damage because I knew if I could finish him, uh, I wouldn't have much to worry about. I mean, his Sinisters could try to attack, but at that point I would have felt fine. His Sinisters don't have the same durability, but I got him down pretty far. And then here's an error I made. I neglected to outwit his plasticity, and I had Arachnite next to him with my plasticity, with my cloak versus cloak, and I was thinking old rules where that was a +2 -2 to roll instead of plasticity simply ignores other people's plasticity when you break away. So he still broke away on anything but a 1. So he broke away and got back out. Then I chased him. And that, I don't know if strategically was the best move. Maybe I should have buried her up, but I thought I had a chance. I had a situation where I thought I could land 4 attacks, and if I could land 4 attacks, I should be able to burn through Saturnine. And he was out of rally dice at that point. I'd be able to burn through past Saturnine's dice manipulation and Sicarian's object and kill him. And then I couldn't hit a 7 in many, many rolls. Just missed over and over again. In hindsight, this is true. I'm sure this is true for him too. Had I just gone for a Sinister, I could have gotten about 3 attacks off on him and probably killed him.
Yeah, well, that's it.
I wasn't fighting to get 40 points. I was fighting to win the game at that point. We were both pretty punchy at that point. I will just also say that was after 11. That was the 11th round of or 11th hour of HeroClix that day. So
yeah, how many? I mean, that was. I mean, you guys both had great teams. That sounds like an awesome team that you just described from Rob. And also, just in general, how many people were at the Kilted Classic? I think it was like 50 people, right, or something.
We had exactly 50 players.
And like of the teams that were there, I don't know if you noticed any of the other builds. Like what was really prevalent at the tournament? Like what were a lot of people playing?
So I saw a lot of Sicarian Iron Man, kind of everywhere. There were the team I was most worried about facing. The 2 teams I was most worried about facing. Well, most of all was Scarab. My team doesn't have a great answer to Scarab. It has some weak answers to Scarab. I can swap the emotional modifier, but generally speaking, I don't do well. If a well-barriered Scarab could really have hurt me, especially since they have those low point pieces that are easy to pick off of Green Lantern and Scarlet Witch, or and Star Sapphire. Not Scarlet Witch; she's hard to pick off. And Legacy Thanos, but Legacy Thanos really is kind of passe now with the changes they've made to him. So there were some Scarab teams. None of them made the cut. My friend Pat ran a Maggot team, but I did not see those much. I saw more than one World's Finest. I saw multiple Arachnites and Scarlet Witches. They're popular. There were Carnages there, but I don't know that any of them did well.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, one interesting thing about this, and I think this made it a great event, is that for a long time the meta is a dominant archetype or dueling 2 or 3 rock paper scissors archetypes, and that might still be true, but the components of those archetypes are a lot looser. So, for instance, and then Rob's team, I don't think fits any of them. I mean, you can label it defensive shell, but it's not like any of the other defensive shells. He actually is all the way across the board at you. He's not turtling and pinking. He's running up to you and he's defending Iron Man from a distance. Mm-hmm. Similarly, my team has a defensive component in that I can throw 2 stop signs up, and I've got barrier and free barrier. But mostly what my team does is very aggressive, which is I want to project Arachnite and Scarlet Witch and either erase your powers, or if I don't have to, just have them attack.
Yeah.
And my team is a good stuff team. Like I said, not very original, but my friends were just talking this morning that it seems like there's sort of a combination of something to get rid of powers, 2 to 3 good, relatively inexpensive attackers, and some support. And that seems very well balanced, especially when you consider how many different figures can fit into those slots. So one thing I will say, it's like, I did not see any tentpoles do well, although one did make the top 8 or top 16, which was the prize event Apocalypse at full points.
At full points, okay.
Yeah, but I didn't play that, and I can't imagine it would have gotten through the whole tournament with Scarlet Witches out there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's probably susceptible to Scarlet Witch, like pretty heavily susceptible to that. But
must have been piloted well to get up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there were 2 double Scarab teams that didn't make it. There was a double Apocalypse team at low points that I think didn't make it to the top. Maybe it didn't actually. It did make it to the top 16. Must have gotten wiped.
Double Legacy Apocalypse, or
no, double prize Apocalypse.
Oh, okay. With
the rollouts, that was J Major's team. His son Jalen is who I fought in the semifinals, but I think he made the top cut too. I actually have a list here. Let me pull it up. There's this new site. I don't know who's behind it. HC Units, which I like.
Yes, and go check out HC Units. It's a really good site.
There is under Explore. There is a tournaments menu item, and the Kilted Classic top 16 is up there. And J Major did make. He not only made the top 16, he made the top 8. He was 6th place. And his team is, whoever entered these gave the teams names, and they named his the money team because it was undoubtedly the most expensive team there. No shade. I don't have any beef with that, but he's got 2 Carnage Silver Surfers and 2 Prize Apocalypses, a Genesis, and then Death Metal Wonder Woman, and then a Carnage Colossal. And most of those characters have a Soul Sword.
Nice.
Which is amazing. What
did they name your team? There was just a winner. It was just
they called mine Mobile Witch.
Mobile Witch? Okay.
All right. Yeah, and I'd actually entered it separately, and I think I just called it Good Stuff Witch or something like that. So, I mean, the idea of putting the angler on the witch, that won Worlds last year. That's not original at all. So, and then Rob's is called Merlin Misery, and the other team that I like to highlight from the top 8 is my friend Tyler, another Chicago guy, built a Mission Points team.
You guys are known. Are you part of the group, the Chicago Clix Mafia? Is that your?
I am.
Is that your team? Yeah.
Yeah, that is my team, and it not exactly behind the scenes, but the Chicago Clix Mafia was sponsoring the event with bankrolling the place and finding the venue and stuff, and it was a partnership with PJ to do that, to bring we wanted to bring the Kilted Classic to Chicago. We had thought about holding an event and had not gotten it together, and when PJ said, you guys want to host a Kilted Classic in Chicago, we were like, we'll find a venue and get that set up, and prizing is the support of us and PJ's stash. PJ had some really amazing stuff, and then we bought cases for it. So one funny thing is that the championship belt, we established in 2019 as a Chicago thing, and we've had 2 events that's gotten taken from, and we wanted to bring the belt back home. So at the end of the day, I walked out of there with a case of HeroClix that I had bought and a championship, which I had bought and designed.
Nice.
I mean, me and my crew. I don't want to say it like me alone, but it's great to bring the belt back home to the address where it was delivered when it was made. I remember in 2019 opening up the box and pulling it out the first time. So it's like it's not only literally home in Chicago; it's literally home at my house.
Nice.
Yeah.
So were there any there's a question from McConnell that was on my if you check out the Facebook group, McConnell asked a question, what figures were you most surprised to see or not see? Well, I added the C part to most surprised to see or not see at the Kilted Classic.
Yep, I saw that question, and I expected more scarabs. I expected that to be something I would run into, and there were some, but they didn't. I didn't run into them, and they didn't make cut. So I expected to see more scarabs. I kind of thought. I mean, it's probable that most people had counter programming to scarab, and that kept them from advancing. And then it was commented on by somebody else on the Clixing It crew that Scarab's great, except that he tends to be a low-scoring figure, and the meta has moved on to be more aggressive. And with that, it hurts him a bit. You know, when Scarabs win, they often win low points. And my games, of my first 4 of my first 5 games, I scored 300 points.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow, yeah,
not a defensive game right now. Not usually. I mean, the person I faced on the top obviously had a defensive team, and he was going that way. But generally speaking, so I was mentioning my friend Tyler. He's the other exception to the standard. But he had a mission points team where Indigo won with the Indigo ring, who gets mission points for every click she heals, and a starter set watcher who can click to any click he wants at the beginning of his turn.
Mm-hmm.
Just racking up mission points literally from turn 1 before the game's gotten going.
Yes.
And a variety of other mission point figures. He's tuned it. I played it several times, lost to it several times. He's tuned it over time to include and exclude stuff. But I think his final form, he had the Legacy Riddler, who gets mission points after he uses Perplex on an opposing figure once. When that character is perplexed afterwards, you can get mission points. And then he had the Kingpin, who deals mission points if he knocks you into a edge of the map for how many squares he knocked you to get there. He had Peacemaker on his sideline. He had some other mission point figure on there. No, that's it, actually. He took some of the other ones off. But the games he lost, he would have 18, 19 mission points. It's a very formidable team.
Well, I think there's like an infinite loop combo with...
There is, and I think it happened once, but it's not really that material to the game. But
with when Peacemaker and the Judgment Tarot card...
Yes. Yeah. And I think there's already... I think... PJ already sent that off to WizKids, and they already issued a ruling to stop it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't too material, but it's not infinite. But Peacemaker can heal up from last click to first, because he gets a mission. He heals a point when he gets a mission point, and the card, I believe, says you get a mission point when anyone heals. So
as soon as you heal 1 mission point, everybody on your team that's damaged can heal to full. Like if you have Watcher at last click, he heals full. And I think if you have, like, let's say you have Crazy Jane at last click, she heals full.
Yeah, I think it's... I'm just taking a look here. Yeah, he can do 1 friendly character. He said this only happened once during the day. It's not the lever on which the team works.
Mm-hmm.
And to Tyler's credit, he actually never expected to go as far as he did. He has a prankster personality, and he wanted to throw a wrench into people's days. more than he was looking to win it all, and he's very happy with how well.
So he got some mission point wins then for sure with that team.
He got all mission point wins,
Yeah.
and he gave one. So he made top 8, which means he won his first round after the cut, if I'm reading that right, and he scored almost no points when he lost. So I think he must have gone 4-1 to make the cut in the first place. So he would have won 5 games during the day and lost 2.
Mm-hmm.
If I
I mean, that's pretty good. That's more success. That's the most successful that I've heard a mission point team really do. Like that's really good.
It's really fantastic. I mean, one thing about the team is it gets the mission points so fast. He has a lot of defense. His original plan was to so the other piece is out of Mantis and Peeper, but I think Mantis is there to take tokens off of friendly characters, so he can heal more often. But he's got a Sinestro ring. He basically barriers up, uses the new terrain rules to put down terrain markers to make him hard to hit, and he's trying to get to that 10 mission points as fast as possible, because once you kill a mission point figure, if you have 10 mission points, you get Peacemaker, and Peacemaker gets mission points relatively quickly. He gets it every time he uses probability control. So he's it's always a race with that team, and it's a fun team to play. But you are playing a different game. Yeah. It is not normal HeroClix. And I know that bothers some people, and that's probably a legitimate complaint. But I know the spirit with which it's played, and it can be a good time. But you have to recognize what it is right away. If you don't, you'll be behind almost immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, like if you're playing against mission points, you have to worry about either them scoring points on you or scoring mission points on you. And I remember PJ had a team a while ago with Wrecker Prime that was able to dish out a lot of damage just as regular, like earn victory points.
Yeah,
and then also earn mission points at the same time, and so it was kind of like a double-edged sword, and you had to worry about both. I think it was like a Frightful Force swap or something like that.
It was Frightful Force swap with Wrecker and his bystanders doing a lot of the mission point work. For Tyler's team, I asked him at some point, I think it was at the break, how much damage he had dealt that day, and I think he said he had dealt damage twice. So I'm pretty sure his loss was 0 points.
Uh-huh. Well, I know there's also, like in Silver Age, there's all sorts of... So, I mean, but I just wanted to mention that to viewers or listeners right now. The Kilted Classic that you played in the event, the format was 300 modern, right?
Yes.
Just straight 300 modern.
Yep. Okay. And there was one side event called Nothing Special, which was 300 silver, no cards. So any traits you have don't exist. Any white boxes are basically blank. I didn't play in that, and I'm curious how that went, but I actually didn't hear.
Yeah, I know PJ Bolin. He has his own Discord dedicated to not so special HeroClix. It's kind of like a league that he runs, or like a special format that he runs called Not So Special HeroClix. So if anybody's interested in that, I'd definitely go check it out. But yeah, I know in Silver Age, mission points gets kind of crazy too. Like there's this team, I know there's that team that with like 20 AOs, AO from the AO from Black Panther Infinity, from that set of Avengers Black Panther Infinity. There was a 20 point AO, and she can basically become an opposing figure.
Oh yes, okay, I know.
I forget how she does it. Like if she clicks, maybe she takes damage or something like that. Or no. There's some way that she becomes KO'd. Well, maybe when she's KO'd, she becomes an opposing figure, and so there's like 10 AOs on your team, and then you have Miss Minutes.
Oh, nice.
And so you just make the AOs opposing, and then I think you use like Titano or something to like deal damage to the AO, and then
Oh, wow.
I don't know. There's a crazy
That's
that's a crazy combo.
that's that's definitely crazy, and that I don't appreciate nearly so much. Yeah.
Yeah, Silver Age gets kind of nuts with mission points, I think, but also mission points gets crazy in 400 point games and higher point games like
And in multiplayer games.
multiplayer games too. Yeah, I mean,
I've only played mission point focused teams a few times, but a couple of those have been like big casual weekend games with like 4 people, 5 people on a map.
mhm.
And right when they were brand new, I tried a mission point team, and I won with it. It was fun. And I've had other games where I've gotten really close in multiplayer games because there's more opportunities for missed minutes to score points. I was using Owatu before the errata in one of those, and he was scoring points a lot. You know, there's just a lot of ways you can get mission points in a multiplayer game.
So do
The
you
game
think?
not balanced for more than 2 players.
I was gonna say, do you think mission points is balanced for like a casual game, like for a big like a large point casual game? Do you think it's like fair to play mission points in casual play, or do you think it's more just designed for competitive?
Probably no, but so many things can be abused. I mean, if you want to play like you're trying to win worlds in a casual 400, 500, 600 point game, there's a lot of things that don't work, not
Yeah,
just mission points. But
that's
yeah,
true.
no, I think you're probably right. In games like that, uh, mission points are unbalanced. The thing I find in multiplayer games that really gets unbalanced is rally dice for rally other or rally any.
Yes.
Like you're just stacking those. I had the misfortune of playing against the Madam Web Spider-Man in a 4-way game once, and I'm like, she always is full of dice.
Mhm. No,
You
I mean
know,
I know I remember that what was it War of the Realms with Blade. I think Blade. I forget what set Blade was from, but the Rally Dice Blade with the it's opposing 6, but when you play him in a battle royale, he just doesn't die.
yeah,
He just won't die.
yeah, yeah. Was that Empire?
I thought it was War of the Realm. No,
I'm not sure. I'm gonna look.
I don't remember. Rally Dice 6 Blade.
I've got HC units up. Um, Blade.
Was it Empire?
That's not a rally dice one. Yeah, you're right. It's War of the Realms.
War of the Realms. Yeah, so anyway, Ken, so once again, congratulations on your win of the Kilted Classic. I heard somebody also got a kilt. Did you get a kilt, or did somebody get a kilt?
I did not get a kilt. I believe kilt went to Fellowship.
Oh, Fellowship? Okay. That's real
So
cool.
here's so in that we were helping set up and getting things ready, and I was on vacation the week before, and my job has been quite hectic lately. I One thing I gave up doing is I have a kilt, not a utility kilt, which just snaps on,
Hmm.
but I have a full 10 yards of fabric with a cloak pin kilt that I have for other reasons. And I was going to wear that to the event, and I decided not to just because the annoying thing about a traditional kilt as opposed to a modern kilt is that they take a long time to put on.
Okay.
You actually have to fold them a certain way and put them on. It's like a 15-20 minute process, and I just decided the morning of I was going to skip that, and just as well. But I thought I'd show up with the full deal, but I did not.
Nice.
Actually, it's 9 yards because I think that's where the expression "the whole 9 yards" comes from.
The whole 9 yards comes from a kilt?
That might be apocryphal, but I've heard it suggested that. But a kilt is basically just many yards of fabric folded properly. It's the folding that gets you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so congratulations on your win as Kilted Classic Champion 2023. Let's transition over to. I just wanted to talk about some of the new figures that have been shown recently by WizKids. I mean, we just got this video that WizKids released based on the Huntingtons HeroClix for Huntingtons event that's coming up soon. Definitely go check out the HeroClix for Huntingtons event. I think that's May.
I know it starts earlier. It's May 4th through 7th.
May 4th through 7th.
So soon.
Yeah, so it's coming up soon, and I know you can go on their website and you can go bid on things at their auction to donate to charity for HeroClix for Huntingtons. And they previewed some figures. They previewed the Scott Porter figures. I don't know if you saw those Scott Porter figures.
I did. They're very good.
They look really cool. Then WizKids also released like pictures of a bunch of other figures. In July, San Diego Comic-Con, they're going to be making available Space Ghost and Mermaid Batman and Hawkeye. In August, at Gen Con, they're going to release the Wonder Woman Generations figures, which is Wonder Woman and Nubia and I forget that
figure's name. I don't know that character.
The other character's name, but the three Wonder Woman Generations figures. That's August in Gen Con. Also, Venom, God of the Symbiotes, is going to be available August in Gen Con. I'm sure a lot of people are excited about that one.
Amazing looking figure.
Yeah, I mean, the sculpt looks awesome. I mean, if you like symbiotes, definitely. I know a lot of people are into symbiotes. And then in September at Worlds, they're going to have Rainbow Superman, and they're going to have the Watcher in battle armor, and they're going to have Captain America on the Pegasus, and they're going to have the Hanna-Barbera version of the Joker, I think. So there are a lot of really cool figures that are just kind of being hinted at from WizKids.
Yeah. Did you mention Thor Gwen?
Oh yeah, and Thor Gwen. Thor Gwen is August at Gen Con. So you
yep,
can find
and then
her.
and Watcher in armor, battle armor.
Yeah, that's at September in Worlds.
Captain America on a Pegasus.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're getting beyond, but a lot of these just dropped this morning. HeroClix, there's a Joker from Scooby Doo, and the Wonder Woman whose name we missed was here it is, Yara Flor. I'm not sure who that is. If it's a future Wonder Woman or.
Yeah, so you have Wonder Woman, Nubia, and Yara Flor. I think they're all. I mean, I don't know. I think they're all Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So. And I mean, did any of these figures stand out to you as like interesting to you?
Yes. So there's competitive and there's fun, and they all look good one way or the other. I don't have. Let me pull up the Scott Porters here. I think the Scott Porters are really good. They're good in the way it's going to be, where you're going to wonder if there's a reason not to play them.
Well, I actually love their design because I know you're looking them up right now.
Yeah, but I've got them here. There's the white shirt and the black shirt one. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. So the white shirt one is I think of this one as the what is up everybody out there in HeroClix land. So he's got 4 clicks. He starts with sidestep, a special power which is knockback and pulse wave that doesn't target friendly characters, with an 11 attack, toughness 18, and then 1 damage prob. And his range is 4, and he's a team player. His traits are comics knowledge and acting roles. Scott Porter has all keywords, even when he's not on the map. So he has every keyword that's ever existed. Yes, that means he has kid and mutant too. Those of you remember those retired keywords. And then he has what is up everybody out there in HeroClix land. At the beginning of the game, if Scott Porter is on a theme team, other friendly characters modify attack +1 as long as he's on the map. And then 2 slashes. At the beginning of the game, if all other friendly characters are from the same HeroClix set, all other friendly characters modify damage +1 as long as Scott Porter is on the map. So similar to the Collector. So if you have a theme team and it's all from one set, except for Scott, and he doesn't break theme since he's got the keyword, and characters are all getting +1 attack and damage, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of collector almost.
Yeah, and then his dial, he's got the pulse wave power throughout. His fourth click, he's a stop click. It's got regeneration, and when he uses it, heal each adjacent friendly character one click, which is pretty fantastic. His last couple of clicks are perplex. So that's all of that is for 25 points.
And he's got
He,
team. Did you say team player team ability? So
yes.
he has that too.
So he literally can't break your theme, and he's only 25 points. He's giving you prob, and if you build with him in mind, you're getting +1 attack, or +1 damage, or both. And Black Shirt Scott, Evil Scott. I don't think he's really evil. I think this is family Scott.
This is the well, that's his HeroClix for Huntingtons T-shirt that he's got on.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is family Scott, and this one he has sidestep through his whole dial. He has TK on his first dial, 11 attack. He has a special damage power throughout, which is super senses, and then friendly characters modify defense +1 when adjacent to a friendly character that shares a keyword with them, and then he has perplex. And then he's got on his last two clicks, he's got prob instead of perplex. But his interesting stuff are in the traits. To start, when establishing theme teams, choose any keyword, and then choose any team ability that another friendly or opposing character has on their dial. This game, he has the keyword and the team ability. So he does not have team player, but he will take one of your team abilities or one of your opponents for the game. And again, he's not going to break your theme if you have a theme. During the game setup, if Scott Porter is part of a theme team, increase the result of your roll for first player by 1. So in an era where that is locked at a +3 bonus, if you have a bonus at all, he's going to give you an edge. He has another trait, which is support. And also part of that trait, at the beginning of your turn, Scott Porter may heal a friendly character 1 click. I think that one is huge. Doesn't say adjacent. So you've got a character with a stop. They've been knocked to stop. They can survive to your turn. You're going to get them up off that stop click. That's incredible. Again, this is a 25-point figure. Another trait, counting on the community. If Scott Porter is part of a theme team, he starts the game with 3 community tokens. And if he has any community tokens, once per turn, you can re-roll any roll. Note that's any roll. Super senses, shape change, your Faust die roll to see if you can stop someone from using their power, blades, any roll. If you do, after resolutions, remove a token. So 3 times a game, once per turn, he can re-roll anything. That's pretty fantastic. So that's 25 points for Perplex, Sidestep, and TK is already pretty good. And then he has all this other stuff. So that's a lot. And again, will fit on any theme. Much better if it's on a theme, but doesn't have to be.
Right? Yeah, and if he's just standing next to somebody, he's a 19 defense too.
Right, that's true. Hadn't considered the fact that, let's see, is that other figures or any figures? No, it says right. He does it to himself. Amazingly good figure there. As someone who never got the Scott Porter Bystander, I'm eager to get these.
Yeah, I mean, these are really good figures. I mean, I don't know what else. I think you said pretty much everything that there is to say about them. They're just really good. I think I just really like the design of these figures because, you know, with the new rules change that just happened, I think a lot of people are saying that non-theme is becoming more prevalent and that there's less reason to play theme teams based on the I don't know how true that is. I'm not going to give that statement really much validity, but I get what people are saying, but like you know, with the changes to initiative roll and everything like that, there's less reason to play a theme team. So I like the design of these figures to just basically encourage people to play theme, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that's the overall strategy. I mean, I'm just going to talk from the Kilted Classic. I think that's the biggest event that's happened since the rule change. I think maybe not. Certainly the biggest event since Spider-Man dropped. And I would say theme was not a big component. There were theme teams, but anybody who had a theme team generally had one for a reason. Mm-hmm. and that reason was team up card, certain synergies they got out of things from keywords, things like that. So I agree. It's nice that if you're playing a theme team, it's because you're getting a certain bonus, not because there's a blanket bonus.
Hmm.
But you're going to need figures like this to make those theme teams happen. Otherwise, they will fall by the wayside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other figures that really stood out to you? Like, did you see the? I know the other ones that we actually saw cards for. I mean, like personally, I think I'm excited that Wonder Woman that we saw the card for looks really cool. She's got kind of like a retaliation type thing that she does, where you can place her next to a figure. That
Yeah.
The Hawkeye looked really cool. Hawkeye's one of my favorite characters, and I really liked the Hawkeye TV show from Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
So, having the Kate Bishop Hawkeye and also the Clint Barton Hawkeye together, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
That figure looks really cool.
Since the dual mechanic is no more, it's interesting to see what they do when they want to put two people together.
Yeah,
And I think it's a pretty clever one in that you can make that bystander at the beginning of your turn, and then she's picking one of those sets of powers to use. And
yeah.
then when she gets KO'd, she is not gone. Um, unless I'm mistaken. Yeah,
No, no,
unless
no. I think he can
if
generate
she
her
gets
again.
if she gets KO'd, there's nothing that says you can't generate her again. Yeah, I just wanted to just scanning to confirm that to make sure I wasn't going to misspeak. But yeah, so that's good. I mean, I think this Hawkeye suffers only really from being able to be taken out a little too easily,
Yeah,
but the offensive power is pretty amazing. It's basically shooting twice, right? A flurrying running shot. It's a glass cannon, but it's quite a cannon.
yeah. I mean, with the Avengers team ability now, with the change to the Avengers team ability, there's a possible 13 for 3 twice. So
Right.
that's pretty good. Or
Yeah.
and you can pop out the bystander and you can get perplex or you can get enhancement or whatever you want.
Yeah.
Right? Oh,
Exactly.
speaking of bystanders, what did you think of? And I didn't even mention this. Also previewed was the Scott Crampton bystander. What do you think about the Scott Crampton
So
bystander?
so it's fun. I love. I mean, I listen to Scott stuff, and he's obviously got a strong sense of humor. And the 4 Points Gaming Club is, I mean, more than any other group, they probably have represented the most championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between Scott and Isaac primarily, but um, the I love the fours. I'm sure they only let him have a 4 damage because they said he could only hit on a critical hit, and because he has a 4 attack.
Mm-hmm.
But I just keep thinking, how do I break this? I mean, 4 points for enhancement's great, especially considering that he's going to be in stealth as he's carried around. But I just keep thinking, like, so it only hits on a critical hit. How do I make critical hits happen? Well, there's Donna Troy. If I can get him to roll 7,
Yeah.
then, I mean, still not the best odds, but a little more likely. Of course, if he does it, he'll be dealing 5.
You
But
could also
I
use
don't.
this. You could use a Scott Porter bystander, which makes a critical hit on a 10 through 12. I think.
Oh, right. Like I said, I never got that, so that would work too. So there's different ways you could. I mean, I don't think anyone's trying to use this guy as a attacker mainly. I just want to make it happen because it's fun, right?
Mm.
And because I could say people, I hit you with Scott Crampton. I hit you with a guy with a ridiculous mustache. So if you've seen the picture on it,
Um, and let's see, other ones that I thought were cool. I mean, Mermaid Batman and Superman with the rainbows. I don't
yeah.
really know them from the comics. They seem like cool versions of the characters, but yeah, I'm gonna get them anyway. Like they look
Oh,
cool.
I'm a completist, so I'm gonna get everything
I'm gonna get it.
eventually.
Yeah.
But the I don't know the Mermaid Batman story, but I do have a soft spot for Silver Age silliness and Golden Age silliness, and that Superman story I've read. And there's just if you've ever read early '60s Superman stories, they get way way out there. They're written from a different kind of brain space than a normal story, even for the time.
Hmm.
And things like Superman gets a power where he can project rainbows from his hands. And I don't know if it's part of the same story, but it's a different story. He gets at one point a power where he can shoot out a little Superman out of his hand, and then he gets jealous because the little Superman is getting all the attention from women. Like they're all saying he's so cute, and I'm like, what am I reading? And I just really appreciate those what am I reading stories from the '60s especially. And it's not all comics from that period are like that. I mean, there's some, but Superman stories in particular have that going for them.
Hmm.
And I don't know about the Mermaid Batman, but he looks cool. Um, and I hope he's a good dial too because he looks like he's fun.
Have you seen the Venom God of the Symbiotes dial? The card for
Yes.
it?
So Venom, God of the Symbiotes. My initial impulse is he's too many points to be meta. Looks really fun, and then I start looking at what he does, and I start wondering if maybe you could make him work because he really does some impressive stuff. I think most notably for him, I'm going to pull him up so I don't say anything wrong. Is so I don't know that he's playable at 270, but at 150, he's got charge, and he can do it after swapping places with another symbiote, which means effectively he can charge anywhere on the map because it shouldn't be too hard to take one of his symbiotes and carry it somewhere,
Hmm.
then swap places and then attack. That's pretty cool. The fact that he makes them all the time is good too. So, um, like I said, I think most people are focusing on just how cool he looks, which I agree. And I have mixed feelings about symbiotes. I'm not super into them. They're kind of cool, but they're also very very overplayed. But then they come out with this, and I'm like, well, I want it. So well played, WizKids. Well played. Right when I thought I was sick of symbiotes, you've made something that makes me want to get it. So, and having four symbiotes all over the map doing nasty things sounds like fun too.
Yeah, that sounds cool. And also, I mean, he's not only the symbiote bystanders, but you can actually play him with the
Mhm.
symbiote, the rare generic from Spider-Man Beyond Amazing.
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, anything that's yeah, and you can also play him. I think he does a bunch of stuff off of characters named symbiote, and there is I think it's common symbiote from Spider-Man Carnage Venom. Uh, so there are characters named symbiote, not just the new one, but there's the older one from. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh no, it goes back to Mighty Thor. That's really old.
Hmm.
Never mind. That's a bystander.
Well,
Oh, it's from Web of Spider-Man. Oh my God, it's much older than I thought.
does
No,
the card say that does God of Symbiotes does he reference do the characters have to be named symbiote or do they have to have the symbiote keyword?
um, some of each. So for different traits and different things. So for swapping places, um, for the charge, he needs a character named symbiote. For generating, it can be anybody with the symbiote keyword.
Oh, he can generate a symbiote next to anybody with the symbiote keyword.
Yeah, and then
Well, that's pretty
for
good. Like, let's say you have
well,
Carnage Surfer or something like
yeah,
that, and
that's at 270 points. I should note though.
oh, okay,
You're only going to do that on high point games because you're gonna be or you'll be doing it next to his bystanders, and
okay,
then the infinite number of host bodies. If there are four or more characters named symbiote on the map, he can reduce penetrating damage. So there's a couple things that key off the. Mostly it's the name, but he can generate them next to other symbiotes, which is fun,
hmm.
but only on the high point version.
I also saw they had Captain America on the Pegasus.
Yep.
So that's good for people who are into Asgardian figures. I think that's Asgardian, right? I think that's like the one that they didn't do from War of the Realms as part of the chase set or something like that.
I don't know what it's from, but I would suspect so. And it's also cool for people who like cool sculpts like me. I think it looks pretty fantastic.
Yeah, the sculpts are really. I think they're the con exclusives. All the sculpts look really good. They look pretty cool. There's the Watcher and the battle armor. I think that's from the Disney Plus series.
It is.
Um, and
I'd spoil if your watchers haven't seen it yet, but I guess it's been spoiled enough to just know that he does don battle armor at one point.
yeah, So that's really cool. The Joker looked like okay, yeah, no, it's just like
Yeah,
another
that one's a
Joker.
little ho hum. I mean, it's based on the animation style from Scooby Doo, which is not the not the highest quality animation or design. Let's just say.
But I am really excited that we have that WizKids has the IP license to Hanna Barbera, and that
Hmm.
they're now able to do like Scooby Doo, and that they just came out with a Space Ghost. Space Ghost looks awesome. Um,
Space Ghost is a figure that I just every time I look at him, I realize he's better than I think. Um, just to pull him up. So he's for those of you who haven't seen him, and I have to type his name right for that to work. He's 80, 60, or 30 points. And I don't know if he's worth it at 80s. Um, charge figure with toughness and leadership, but he has a couple of things. One, he's got perplex as a trait. He has stealth as a trait, super senses as a trait, super strength as a trait. And then the perplex, he can use it twice a turn if he has no tokens. And then when he uses perplex, the on a friendly character, that character gets safeguard opposing probability control.
is it one no
So
tokens or two tokens? Yes, I think.
when he has no tokens, he can use it twice.
Okay.
So basically, when he's setting up
Yeah.
or after he's cleared, mostly
Okay.
he'll be used once. And then his attack power, he's got his whole dial is free to choose until he chooses again. One of three options: energy explosion plus pen psi, great combo, or energy deflection and invulnerability, great defensive combo, or force blast as free and telekinesis. Force blast is free is always great. Now, note he has that his whole dial at 80, and he's a team fighter, by the way. His whole dial at 80 points. I don't think that's that exciting, but he's got that in his 30-point dial as well. You know, he's only got a couple clicks of life at 30 points, but charge, 10 attack, 18 defense, close combat expert, probably invulnerability, probably a couple perplexes. Um, maybe he's doing TK or free force blast instead. He's just very versatile at 30 points.
Yeah.
So is he meta? I don't know. Maybe. I think force blast is free is something we haven't seen a ton of, and I think it's probably underused considering how practical it is, especially now that it works from a distance. So I'm kind of surprised people haven't brought out that storm from X of Swords to force blast people for free. I mean, it's free damage. She's a perplexer. It can mess up people's positioning. Just it seems like that figure probably too fragile herself, but super useful in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got the team player team ability. He's got some good keywords too. He's got celebrity. He's got cosmic police. So
And if you need to damage your own figures, can you force blast your own figures? I don't know if you can. No, maybe not.
no, I don't think so.
No, never mind. Scratch that.
Did we miss anything? We have Thor Gwen. Thor Gwen looked cool. We already have a Gwen Goddess of Thunder Chase, but this is another Gwen Thor. It's
Yeah,
Thor Gwen, but I think she looks really cool as well. I love Asgardian stuff, so
yeah.
um,
She does. She does look cool, and there's some good Asgardian stuff right now for sure.
um, and yeah, I think we talked about pretty much all of the figures that have been shown. So just
Hmm. I don't know if we talked about the Wonder Woman that gives out equipment.
oh yeah, that Wonder Woman. Let's take a look at it. We mentioned it briefly, but we didn't actually look at her dial.
Yeah. So
So
I,
let's look at her.
the interesting thing about this Wonder Woman, she's either 150 or 90. She's got the Wonder Woman ally team ability, but not any super senses. So she's just got a marginal rollout. But at either point value, she has a trait called Hephaestus's Armory. During force construction, up to 3 friendly characters with the Amazon keyword may be assigned equipment without paying the cost. And there's no cap on that. So in Silver Age, she can give people the gauntlets or
Hmm.
other things. So find the most expensive equipment you can if you want, and you can give it to her. So that's cool. That includes herself. And then she's got Charge Flurry on her top HeroClix. And on both her starting line, she's got a damage power, which is Lasso of Truth, Empower, and free. Choose an opposing character within force range squares and line of fire. That character can't use damage powers until your next turn, which is very good. Now, at 90 points, she's pretty expensive. I think too expensive to really crack the meta, unless some very expensive, very good equipment comes out. But she's certainly doing a lot for those points. I think she's a fun theme-ish piece. You know, you're gonna build a casual team around her for your less competitive events where you want to do some fun tricks.
Yeah, I mean, like Silver Age casual. I mean, you make a good point about bringing in the Gauntlet. You could bring in Cosmic Cube. You can bring in, like, I don't know. Can you bring in 3 gauntlets, or I don't know how the rules work with that because of like starting.
I'm not the same gauntlets, no. So I
like, would they be unique? Would they be unique with that
yeah,
trait?
When something comes from outside the game, it does not matter. But otherwise, items are unique, and you have to look at the wording of certain things, like the sword bearers, for instance, are bringing their swords in from wherever you want. Doesn't say sideline.
Oh, I see the wording here for Wonder Woman. It says may be assigned equipment, so that would not be from outside the game.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, but the sword bearers, for instance, start the game with any equipment. It doesn't say assigned, so it's not part of the assignment rules, and it also starts the game. It's not a forced instruction; it's the start of the game. So they get around it. The Wonder Woman equipment that you swap between the 4, the whatever 3 you have come from outside the game, so you can get around unique rules with that. But generally speaking, under most circumstances, equipment is unique.
Yeah. I know the gem bearers get around it too, like for Silver Age, like a gem bearer trait.
Yep.
Okay. So, all right, Ken. I had another question for you, just in general about team building and stuff like that.
Sure.
What are you looking at in the future as far as team building? Are you going to stick with the team that you played at the Kilted Classic? Do you have any ruminations about possible figures to build around? Is there anything you're excited to build around?
So all I can think about right now is that I have a casual game tomorrow where I want to play figures that I'm picking just for who they are and not for what they do. Like, just after coming off of so much build up to the Kilted Classic. But there's a few. I mean, I'm more excited. I've always wanted to build a Saturnine team. For a while, I had a couple Saturnines just because I had an extra. Having seen one work, I still think about that. I still think about that Mission Points team that Tyler built, and wondering if I could build an even better Mission Points team, maybe with whatever comes out next. So that's on my mind. I think Mission Points are dangerous in that the more Mission Point figures get created, every single one of them has to consider the other Mission Points characters that exist, or there'll be a quick lopsided win to them. So I'll be looking at that. I don't know, really. I've gotten very, very hooked on Arachnite. I tend to find a piece and really play the heck out of it. It was Sicarian Iron Man for a while before that. I'm not an original person. I mean, I have built my own original twists on teams before, but I definitely get into a groove. I'm not sure. Right, nothing is screaming at me out of Beyond Amazing that I've really been dying to build around. That seems crazy, but except maybe Prime Spider-Man.
I was just gonna say Prime Spider-Man. A lot of people seem to be trying to build around him.
Yeah, I played him a little. I played him in one casual game, and I played him in sealed. I pulled him in a pre-release, which was fantastic, and he showed up. He showed up in these events too. He's one. He's a lot of points. He just does so much damage, and he's so mobile. Might be fun to build him. I've been really veering toward the very mobile, able to punch really hard type teams for a
Mm-hmm.
while.
How about
And then
Sinister Syndicate Iron Spider?
I don't have him, so it's one of those things when I don't have a figure. And I by now I would usually have him because I try to complete my sets pretty early.
Uh huh.
Uh, maybe I mean I played against him and he's really good.
Okay.
Um, he's fantastic. I don't know if I'd build around him or if I'd think of him as a themey piece. But the other piece uh, that I want to be good enough to play around, and I haven't really is people don't talk about him, but Sinestro uh, from Batman Team Up.
Yeah.
Seems like there's stuff to do there too. Um, you can take him down. He's not that invulnerable, but he's pulse waving for 2. Um, seems like he could do a lot. And if you used Mad Jim to swap shock gauntlets onto him, you'd be giving up the ring, but you'd gain knockback for his force blast that does 2 already. There's 3 damage to a team. That seems like there's something there, but then I don't know if you keep him alive.
Yeah. No, he's a cool figure. I like that Sinestro.
Yeah.
I actually I think I mentioned this to you before. Your team that you played at Kilted Classic, I played it as a in a just at home game, like just kitchen table, like had some friends over, and but I altered it because I just like to play theme, like
Sure.
so.
Well, that started as a theme, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and I figured just as a kitchen, just for like kitchen table play, I didn't really need like a whole lot of barrier because I knew
Yeah.
you were playing that Sapphire for barriers, so I dropped her and I added that 35-point Saturnine,
Hmm.
and she was my TK, and then I added the cloak. I put the cloak on. I dropped. I don't have the Legacy Green Lantern, so
Okay.
I didn't play him. So dropping those 2, that was 45 points. So then I added Saturnine with the cloak, and then I added like equipment onto Arachnite. I think I put the power gem on Arachnite because we were just playing Silver Age. So
Power gem on Arachnite is brilliant. And in fact, when I think about what I might do with my team if I wanted to keep playing it, is to get him some empower or something to boost his damage. Maybe that Scott Porter figure, because uh, almost always he was getting off a flurry,
uh huh.
and with a special power, even a third attack, and doing 12 damage instead of 9 damage would be great.
Well, in modern, a lot of people play Soul Sword on Arachnite, but I like to play Colony on Arachnite to give him exploit. To give him
Oh, that's
exploit.
that's interesting. And you can also give him I forget which sword it is, the one that makes your minimum blades roll your damage +1 instead of -1.
Or the Sword of Might, I think it's called.
Sword of Might, yes.
Yeah.
So putting the Sword of Might on him would be good too. Well, now I want to start trying that.
Yeah, but I mean, I've played Colony on Arachnite at full point Arachnite, 100 points. That's pretty good. It makes him pretty good for having him at the 4 damage flurry exploit is pretty good.
That's
Uh,
fantastic.
if you're playing him at 100, if you're playing him at 60, I still think it's pretty good. Like you can pretty much equip him with anything, and he's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people were surprised I put the cloak on him,
Yeah.
and what really, I mean, he's already ignoring characters and elevation, so it's not that clutch for him. But what's nice about it, beyond tying up other people, is even 2 extra squares of speed was great for getting around the outside of Scarlet Witch's hex,
Mm-hmm.
because I'd be attacking from just outside her hex zone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of time that extra movement was really important.
Well, I actually, I was playing Arachnite when I went to Orlando. I played Arachnite in a lot of my teams that I played, and I was using the tarot card. I know a lot of people use the flurry one that when you miss with an attack from flurry, you can make another attack.
I
But
do too.
instead, I was using the one that's charge +2 speed. So
That's good too. Are they the same suit?
yeah, they're the same suit. So
Oh,
I had to constantly make a decision of whether I was going to use which one I was going to use. But I liked the charge +2 speed one. As long as I didn't pull it first turn, it really helped me. Because it just gave my Sakaran Iron Man more reach. It gave Arachnite more reach. If I was whatever I was playing, that because a lot of the figures that people play now in Modern have charge.
Yeah,
So
that's true. That's true.
but
That makes sense.
what tarot cards did you use?
I used. I'm not going to remember what the names are because I never can keep them straight. But +1 to super senses. When you flurry, you get an extra attack. When you roll doubles, remove a token, which I put in there kind of as filler. Re-roll a single die, and what was my last one? Here, I'll pull it back up because I don't remember my last one now. Leadership +1.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Because I had a couple of leaders and willpower, and it's really good to keep tokens off of both Witch and Arachnite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, when I'm building a tarot deck, and this has just come from like me testing around and stuff. I don't like playing the ones that are +1 super senses and like reroll a d6 just because it always hurts me.
Yeah,
it always helps my opponent too. Like
in this case, I decided I would go with it because it's so useful for Arachnite.
Yeah,
and very often he's choosing targets or he's attacking someone who's in a hex, so it doesn't come up.
That's true. Yeah, he's attacking someone in the hex. Plus, he has precision strikes, so that helps you out too.
So, but yeah, no, it is definitely a risk. In fact, I was saying this to someone else. It's like I don't love tarot cards. I play with them because I think it generally helps me because I'm picking the ones I'm choosing. But I won't mind if something makes them either have a cost or fall by the wayside. I don't like them being a default part of the game right now.
Yeah.
So.
How about mission points? Do you like them or overall or?
I do like them, but I think they're dangerous. They almost have to be a little less efficient because if they were on an even footing with just winning victory points, they would dominate.
Okay.
So I mean, kind of always wary of the mission point thing getting out of control. I like them because they force situations that otherwise people can't plan for. It becomes another option, another potential archetype. I mean, one thing I liked about the Kilted Classic is that most of the games I played could have gone either way, maybe with a little different play. And I feel like the meta is really interesting right now and it's really balanced. And if like I said, every time you add a mission point character, you're making all of the other ones better too by dint of the fact that they stack. And if they're not careful and they overpower mission points, that will throw that off, and all of a sudden you'll be playing half the field in mission points. I mean, I guess the only balance for mission points is that when they lose, they probably lose low points, probably, and that keeps them from cuts and makes it harder for them to advance. But I don't know. I'm wary. But I like them as a concept. I love that they add a different wrinkle.
Yeah, no, having a different win condition is interesting at the very least. What do you think about, speaking of adding like a new wrinkle and things like that? What about terrain, special non-standard terrain, which has just been introduced in the new rules?
So I have a whole
not just in general how you think about it, but also like how did it affect you in the tournament?
Well, I'll tell you my whole journey includes that. So when they announced it, I thought this is awesome. My first thought was, this is fantastic. It's exactly what the flavor side of the game needs, and it's fun. And then when I saw how much different terrain it was and what it was like, I immediately had a backtrack reaction like, they've just introduced terrain, and already they have some terrain which seems really unbalanced, like the anchor. I'm like, okay, I think it takes 4 to destroy, gives you giant reach, does a lot of damage. I'm like, that's just better than other things. I mean, I get it, it's one-time use and you can shoot it and all that. So then I had a sort of a reel back reaction of like, I thought it was going to be cool, and now I think it's going to suck. And then I played with it in the tournament, and I'm like, it's fine. Didn't actually have that big an impact. I mean, I think there's a couple of things that are of potential concern in that you can play um, things that block or have elevated to really mess with the other guy's starting area.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of limitations on where you can put stuff, just as long as it doesn't block transition squares and go over other things. So one, I think before we're done, there's probably going to be some cases where people use terrain in an abusive way that will need some correction. But generally speaking, I think it's good. One thing that has been talked about is that if you have super strength and sidestep or free TK or a number of other things, you can move or drop and pick up pieces of terrain such to cause knockback to people. And like super strength sidestep, you can move and drop an elevated piece of terrain under a person's team and then sidestep and take it away.
Yeah.
And just do knockback to an entire team.
Also, I think that does not break first turn immunity too. You can do that.
That is what I've heard. That is what I've heard, and I was actually worried about that when I set up because my team, not a lot of reducers on top especially, and tends to hang out together. So I don't want to take first turn smash damage. But then again, I don't think that happened that much. Again, I may be worrying about things that are not worth worrying about. I am always wary because I don't think WizKids playtesting their program. I know they do it through the player base. It's better than it used to be. Isn't they used to never playtest stuff, or at least not in any clear way. And at the same time, there's always stuff that gets through, and their track record for fixing stuff is not great.
So, do you think it needs to be fixed, or?
I don't think anything needs to be fixed right now that comes to mind that won't happen with retirement. But I mean, I like the meta right now, and I'm protective of it. I don't want them to screw it up by throwing something out there that will mess it up.
At the event, I'm sorry. There's just a lot of questions that are coming to my mind here.
Sure.
One question I had also is at your event at the Kilted Classic, what was the ratio, in your opinion, of people who played on 2x2 maps versus 2x3 maps, considering they're both legal at the same time?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I didn't get up and look around as much as I might have, but it seemed to me it seemed like to me like I mostly saw 2x2 maps, and I know there were some 2x3 maps. I know I got put on one once, no, twice. I got put on a 2x3 map, but I don't know. I think it was probably at least 2/3 2x2 maps.
Do you prefer playing on a 2x2?
For this team, absolutely. But in generally, we've been doing it at my venue, and everyone's sort of eager to try it. Get used to it because we know eventually it'll be the norm.
Yeah.
And we play a casual Sunday and a meta Monday. And the casual Sunday is not completely casual. There's still people still try to win, but I don't know. I think everyone just likes how much it gets in there and starts mixing things up right away. For our meta game, people were obviously playing larger maps if they thought it helped them, but for casual games, most people are going to small maps, and I think it gets the game started faster. There's absolutely a lot of alpha, though. It's different. Games are higher scoring.
People get in close with each other really fast.
Yeah, I think that's reasons why Scarabs maybe didn't make the cut and maybe are falling off because on a smaller map, Scarab is just not as good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's still really good, but your opponent will get to him faster than they used to.
Well, I also the one thing I really like about 2x2 maps, and this is just an ergonomical thing, is how easy it is to fit your pieces and your cards on the table.
No joke. No joke. And I have a bunch of neoprene maps. I buy a lot of the ones from Gamer Mats, and I tend to bring the maps to my venue. and I cycle through them. But the neoprene 2x3 maps, if you bring a good selection, they're heavy.
Yeah.
And I just bought a bunch of neoprene 2x2 maps, not legal for the most part for big events, but they're just so much lighter too, so much easier to move them around. You know,
Um, what were we saying?
generally I like.
Yeah, yeah. I like them too. I think it's gonna be interesting adapting to all these new rules, and the terrain is gonna be interesting. I mean, how it affects gameplay, and especially like big competitive tournaments and stuff like that. Like how the terrain affects gameplay.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I think just I I mean, let's just move on to our final question. I think
Sure.
I had a last question for you, which is, are you? I mean, just in general, you're a comic book fan. You mentioned that you're a comic book fan.
Yep.
I'm a comic book fan as well. A lot of us that are playing HeroClix, it is a comic book themed game. So, are you a Marvel or DC guy? And
Um, yeah, I never liked that question because
I
I
mean, I guess
understand.
there's more than just Marvel and DC.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, well, it's actually not that. It's am I a Warner Brothers or am I a Paramount guy? It's like there's the shared universe aspect, which in my mind, I know for a lot of people that's a huge appeal, but for me,
yeah,
that's always kind of a nice to have or a cute thing. At the end of the day, I just want to read comics about characters I like, and
yeah.
I like Marvel characters and I like DC characters, and a lot of my favorite comics, my absolute favorite comics, aren't superhero comics at all. They're other stuff, and I like comics of all kinds. Um,
So that being
but
said, what would you say are your three favorite characters from the comics?
so, um, Green Lantern, although there's an asterisk next to that one because Green Lantern Hal Jordan, when I was growing up, was a thoughtful, introspective, smart guy, and they kind of turned him into a meathead over time, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
like that. They kind of made, honestly, John Stewart, the way they characterize him is more like the Hal Jordan of old, and so I like those two guys a lot. Depending on the interpretation of them. Um, I I love Spider-Man to death. He's just kind of always been there as a default. Peter Parker, quintessential, can't get a break superhero. Love him. Uh, I can't limit it to three though. The Thing, uh, Captain Marvel, but I mean the Shazam version, has always been a favorite of mine.
Uh huh.
Um, I like Doctor Fate. I always thought he was cool. Then those are the biggest ones. Um, it's got to hurt though when your favorite character gets one of the not so great superhero movies though. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's balanced out by the fact that I've gotten lots of good Spider-Man movies. I'll say that, and
Yeah.
and the and the Shazam movies have been pretty good, so I'm happy about that. But
Which one didn't get a good? I thought you were talking about Shazam.
Green Lantern did not get a good
Oh
superhero movie.
yeah.
No, I think the Shazam movies are good. Underrated. I think the new one is actually better than the first, but
Oh, I haven't seen the new one yet. So
nobody saw the new one. No one
okay.
saw the new one because they're rebooting the universe, and everyone's like, "I'll wait for video." Well, wait for video. Enjoy the ride. It's really well done.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like all kinds of comics, and I mean, I also some of my favorite comics feature characters that aren't my favorites. The last mainstream superhero comic that I really got into and really love features a character I've always been lukewarm about, which is the Immortal Hulk.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic run, and I just never cared about Hulk until I read the series. And then I read the series, and they made me care about Hulk. Very reminiscent of the old Alan Moore Swamp Thing stories,
Well,
which
I
I
thought.
also
Yeah, I liked a lot of the old Peter David stuff with Hulk, but
yes,
that was a
that
long
was the
time ago. Yeah.
we're dating ourselves. So yeah, no. So you asked if I was a Marvel or DC guy. I think if you sorted it out, I'm probably like 50% DC and 30% Marvel and 20% other. But some of my favorite stuff is that other.
What kind of? Just curious. What kind of other?
Well, some of it's been superhero stuff, but I mean, I haven't read it in forever, but the comic Love and Rockets, which is just slice of life stories about people.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite comics ever. Mouse, which some people here probably had to read for high school, I think is one of the best. The best comic book movie made, in my opinion, is Persepolis, which is an autobiographical story about a woman in Iran during the revolution and getting out.
Wow. Okay.
It's an animated movie. I suggest you check it out. It's great. It's funny. It's moving. It's about real stuff.
Is it
Uh,
based on a comic or is it just
yeah,
yeah?
it's based on a comic. I was always a big fan of. There's a comic called American Splendor, which is also autobiographical slice of life stuff.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Um, Watchmen is one of my favorite comics, which is about superheroes. Planetary is one of my favorite comics, which is about superheroes, but they're not in the mainstream. I don't know if
Hmm.
you've read Planetary. I think it's amazing. They made the characters from it in Clix. They're technically DC properties, but I believe they were Wildstorm comics originally, and they're just it's just exploring all of the weirdness and oddities in the world of superheroes. The the antagonists are Fantastic Four stand-ins. Very excellent set of antagonists. It's just a great comic. Um, I don't know. I could go on, but I'm not up on that much modern comics. Um, but those are some of my favorites.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Ken. I'm definitely going to check out Persepolis and some of the other stuff you mentioned.
Yeah,
Just
I guess the last thing I'd shout out is I really like Grant Morrison stuff,
oh yeah.
but mostly before he was well integrated into DC. I mean, his
Hmm.
DC stuff is good, but the stuff he wrote for like Vertigo, like The
Doom
Invisibles,
Patrol. Didn't he write the original Doom Patrol? Or
not the original, but he made it relevant again.
uh huh.
So I mean, that is DC technically, but it's so far outside DC the way it is, and I love that. I love that's great. The Invisibles is great also. So those are the kind of comics I really get into. That kind of Vertigo. Love Sandman. Netflix series is great.
Hmm.
So the stuff that's off the beaten trail.
Awesome. So thank you again, Ken, for doing this interview and
Sure. Thanks
sh-
for having me on.
sharing your experiences with the Kilted Classic. Congratulations once again for winning the Kilted Classic, 2023 Kilted Classic champion, Ken Small.
I
And
want. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to interject. I don't think like I've talked enough about how great everybody was there
yes, yes,
because
go
I
ahead.
would say, in general, the HeroClix fan base is great, but the spirit there was great. We had people who came to play Clix from as far away as a 10-minute drive to getting on planes. And I just want to say, I'm really grateful the community comes together like this, even without like a big WizKid sponsored event. And the people were great.
Yeah, I mean 50 people at an event. That's one of the largest events that we've. That's a huge event right there. That's very big. So
Yeah.
and I mean the Clicks community is awesome. So just having everybody together and getting to see people is obviously that's got to be really cool.
And PJ is such a great guy and such a good ambassador that, I mean, he's great. It's not a surprise that he's the kind of person who can put together an event like this because he's got such a welcoming personality and knows what's good for the game, knows what's fun about the game. So I want to shout out PJ as well.
Yes. Um. Definitely shout out to PJ. All right. So everybody at home, thanks for watching. I appreciate all your support. Thanks, Ken, for joining me. And
Thanks.
don't forget to like and subscribe. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. You can also check me out on Spotify, where I will be posting this as a podcast version. And check out my link tree for links to all my media. And don't forget, wake up and smell the clicks.
Great.